Hello everyone, I am Mulbre of the Mulberry Pack, Den of Snow-Based Wolves, and welcome to Wolvden. So for today's video, we're going to be working on Lineage cards instead of my lead swap. And the Lineage cards is I like to look through a wolf's family history, map out their biology, map out any mutations, as well as markings, and we're going to be doing that for Poseidon, my 10 Leopard Shark marking project stud, because he is a Gen 11 and I think it'd be really cool just to see where his markings came from and what his family tree looks like, as well as making a card for a friend of mine. The reason we're going to be doing this today instead of swapping my lead is I did the math and I realized he wasn't actually going to pass on until a Monday, and then I really needed a break, so now he's not going to pass till a Tuesday, and I'm just going to keep pushing that off until I know for certain I either have a half day to do a proper recording or it's the weekend again. So that's the current plan for now. But before we get into this, today's featured wolf is the very lovely Lady Moonspring, owned by Maxie. Now she's a lovely G1 with gold moon eyes, a doll base, and piebald pant. And of course I see the white Irish. I'm always a sucker for a good white Irish. I think it's just a beautiful marking. And they've used it in a way that it adds a very subtle touch. It's very low opacity, so it's just a very subtle addition. But I do love the way that the glow kind of peeks through with the Hadal. And they went with a nice nighttime beach scene. And I really like how the glow of the waves kind of comes through in the eyes. So all in all, I think the decor came together really well, and they are very lovely. You know, some people are just so good with decor. They really are. We've had some very lovely features. And I think they're their leader. Yeah, they're the leader. The Maxie's got a very nice leader. I hope they get some very beautiful puppies out of this wolf here. I was going to say puppies out of this pup, and I'm like, no, wait a minute, they're not a pup. Thank you, Maxie, for allowing me to feature one of your wolves in the beginning of this video. And if anybody else would like to feature a wolf, my player ID is 163020. Feel free to leave me a message with a link to the wolf you'd like featured. Unfortunately, YouTube does delete links, so you do have to DM me on Wolvden. But without further ado, let's roll. Now, before we get into the meat of the video, should I say, Misty Mornings has officially grown up. They are going to be my new herbalist. Look at Misty, look at their little eyeliner. I think that's just so lovely, emphasizing their eyes. Like, they are not ashamed of their hereditary cataracts. They are owning it with their lovely little snake that kind of matches. Because I think what's cool about the snake, using it for this design, is in the witch lore, the witch's lore, the snakes and the companion animals actually help the blind wolves navigate their surroundings. So I just everything about tying in the snake with the design makes absolute sense, because the witches use the snakes to help them see. This wolf can't see, so there we go. It's got their little companion. Although I think the witch in particular uses a raven. But we will be removing Hecate from her role and passing it on to Misty Mornings. Normally I do a decor swap. So it's kind of like in my pack, it's tradition sort of to pass on this particular outfit. Misty Mornings does already have their attire. I don't know how well this outfit's going to look on it, but we will still do the apparel ceremony, the passing on of the job ceremony, and we will give them this decor and see how it looks. But Hecate will be keeping their raven buddy. I do believe those are separate. Yeah, I do believe so, because everybody's got to keep their companion animal. I wanted to show all of you a new puppy that I got. So Constellation has finally given birth to another litter. She is one of my G1 carriers. She's my melanism carrier. And her husband, let me close these two so it stops opening them. Her husband Borealis is my G1 albino carrier. Now, I was very fortunate. I was able to get a whole bunch of opal salt licks, so I gave him an opal salt lick. I'll actually show you what I did for her for this last breeding. So Borealis got a scrotum. I used 4 juniper berries to lower Constellation's fertility. I used a blue sage and an opal saltlick on the father. So I got her down to 12% fertility. And oh my gosh, did she deliver. So the first puppy born is an albinism carrier with the Patches pointed mutation as well as the Saros eyes. Now the Saros is a combo factor for one of the new hetero eyes. It's Saros and Insomnium. I currently do not have any Insomnium, but there are a few Insomnium studs. So I'm hoping that I can, because I got a few Saros babies. So I'm hoping to try for Saros and Insomnium hetero eyes here at some point. But I was very excited for this one. I was like, oh my gosh, an albinism carrier and Patches. And then we got a melanism carrier. So they definitely passed on one of each to their babies. But then here we have it. Double albinism and melanism carrier puppy with the Saros eyes and snow base. The frickin' snow base. I don't have to change it. Yay, saving 10 gold. I know normally the big excitement would be to get like a T3, but I love the snow base and I absolutely love how well the snow base ties into the idea of having melanism and albinism recessive mutations, because the snow, it's black and white. It is the perfect melding of black and white. And if the pup has albinism, then it just means that, you know, they just don't have that black, and so their pure white coat shines through. But then if they're melanism, then that means they just don't have any white, and the pure black shines through. And it's just kind of like to me, a beautiful melding of the colors and the bases and the genetics coming through. So I was very excited to finally get a double carrier. It took me 118 days with their parents to get this puppy born. They are my second double. They did give me the hereditary cataracts and albinism. So Misty Mornings is a child of my G1 carriers. So they have given me 2 doubles, but the albinism and melanism is the one that I've been really, really wanting. This is the one I have been trying for. This is the one I have been spending gold on, hands over fist, to try and get. That's a weird expression, isn't it? Hands over fist. Or is it something else? Is it like hands over foot? Kind of a weird expression. But yeah, I am so excited to have this one. Like it is just amazing. Finally got it. So they will definitely be kept in my dens. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but I will be keeping them. As well as a Macrodontia puppy. I do have one of these already in my den. I purchased them because it was a snow base that somebody was selling. I purchased them a long time ago, but this is the first one I've bred. And so I was really excited to have this puppy. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but I do have them. And I really love this one. Isn't this one adorable? Like, I don't know what it is about this puppy, but I think it is just the cutest thing ever. And I feel like there was other things I wanted to share, but I don't quite recall. I know I did a lot of changes to my hunting parties. Some wolves have retired from being hunters and are now mentors. So this wolf I purchased from Smoking Kills, and they have slots 1 and 7 leopard shark markings. Now, the reason I bought this one, even though I already have one that has those exact markings, 404 Arrow has 1 and 7. But the reason I bought this one is because she's in heat right now. And I bought her a few days ago. So right now I'm waiting for her 7 days to go up. She's at 4 right now. I'm waiting for her 7 days. That way I can pair bond her. And I'm going to pair bond her to... here we go. This boy who's titled Read Bio. And he has 3 and 10. So between her and him, they have the exact markings that I'm missing to finish my 10 mark leopard project. So once she can be pair bonded, I'm going to pair bond them. I'm going to breed them. It's going to be an expensive breeding because I'm going to use a blue sage as well. I'm going to use my last blue sage. After this, I will be out. I'm going to use a great tit. So I'm going to hope for all females, breed them, get those puppies. And if I have any puppies, I'm hoping for at least 2. But if I have any that have markings in 1, 3, 7, and 10, then I'm going to go through and all of these are going to be gone. I'm going to get rid of every single one of them except the puppies that have exactly the marks that I need. I'll keep my G1s, and I'll probably keep like a few select of these, like all the titanium bases. I'll probably keep those. I'll probably keep the Lux eyes, even though those are direct descendants of my stud. But the vast majority of these are going to be deleted or chased. But that is my current project that I'm waiting on for this particular thing, because literally getting those puppies will change everything for my dens. Like, it will allow me to get rid of so many wolves and really cut back. Because one thing I want to do when I finally switch to a new lead is I want to go on a NBW hunt with my new lead. Well, in order to do that, I need to clear out space. And the best way to clear out space is in the sharks, because the sharks take up the most space. We do have a lot that are ready to be chased. Luckily, nobody's growing up. I do have a couple that do need to be chased. I'll do those real quick. But I think I'm good for a couple days. I found them. They are a hetero blue and brown-eyed wolf. And since I'm hoping to make all of my wolves hetero eyes at some point, I think I am going to try and find space for this wolf in my dens. So at some point I can either pair bond them or do something with them. Maybe, I think I need to gender change to female. Yeah, I am gonna breed them in hopes of introducing their hetero eyes to my project, because now that I have the opal salt licks, I can just give this wolf an opal salt lick and guarantee that at least one puppy will have their hetero eyes. So if I gender swap them to female and breed them to Poseidon, then I can put them into my shark project. Now, the community update. So this week's community update is still is one of the normal smaller ones. We're still waiting on the big art update, but that should happen this month. So we have the official Wolvden raffle, which is a really nice one. It's got some base changers. It's got a total shuffle. It's got energy and breeding items. So make sure to get your ticket. I've already gotten mine. I look at that white sage and I'm like, oh, I would love to have that white sage. I mean, the meat pie is great. It's got 5 uses, but I want that sage. And then this week's stud is, he has mercury eyes, silica base, black lupus, and black merle patches, as well as yellow merle. So I thought he was kind of interesting looking. He reminds me of quite a few wolves that I've seen before, this white overlaying the top of everything. I see that quite often. I'm like, it must come from the raffle studs. He is lovely. He's got mercury eyes. And he's got a special light combo base. So one of the new, I guess silica is one of the new, I'm not entirely sure how you get the silica. Special light combo. It doesn't say T2 on it, so I'm not actually sure where it came from. They got black lupos, doubloon night husky, beige soy unders. Always with the unders. A couple iridiums. Oh, actually they got 3 iridium with iridium notches, cape ticking, and crawl, and then black vixen points here at the bottom, which we can make suggestions. Where is it? Is it here? Yes, so you can make stud attribute requests right here. It's just in the chatter, and then if you click on watering hole itself, you can potentially influence the next raffle stud. And then of course there's a few bug fixes. Can use new recipe to craft has been fixed. SDM marking showing as T5 and custom decor not appearing on wolves has all been fixed. And I actually saw in chat when the person who found this bug discovered it, because they like posted a picture, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have that recipe. So I went to my own hoard and opened up the crafting and looked at the nesting material section, and it was like, yeah, sure enough, you could turn that particular recipe into nesting material. And I'm like, well, I guess for your nerdy wolves, right? Some breeding material. And now for the acorn tracker. Always gotta do the acorn tracker. Acorn tracker is very important. Cheaper stuff. Oh, there's 80 items. I'm so tempted to look, but I'm recording, so I can't. All right, we're gonna switch the buyout. So we have a single acorn for 110 at the low end. And then on the high end, well, they have acorns and silver for their thousands. Okay. Golden acorn. This is not a mistake. A single acorn for 5. I bet there's a story there. There's a story there, and I'm not going to click on it, even though I want to click on it. I'm not going to click on it. A lot of these here have 5 in them, but they are showing as the 110 that we saw on the low end. This bundle, this 10 bundle, is 100 silver per acorn. Wow, the acorns really have recovered since the event has ended. This one is bundles of 10 for 1,000. Bundle of 5 for 500. So it looks like the individual acorn is 120. Oh, no, a single one is 110, but that's the single. However, I am seeing ones that are bundles that bring it down to 100 an acorn. And then the high really does seem to be that like 125 for an individual, which it's kind of odd that they've, well, actually, I guess it's not odd because it does make sense that a single 125, because they don't have the gold option, which then puts it down below the ones that don't have gold options. Because if you look here, that you can see on the screen, this one that's 110, so you'd think that that'd be lower, but since it has a gold option, it makes it more. So I think the highest for a single acorn is the 125. And I will go ahead and break apart a bundle and say that the lowest is 100. We get the acorn tracker centered. And the low is 100. We got week 7. I'll line it up with week 7. Line it up with this other 100 here. And I set a high of 125. So the high is actually the same as the high from last week. So this week, on the acorn tracker, the low has doubled from 50 to 100, and the high has stayed the same at 125. Just pretty cool to see. Like, we can see this downward trend as we were going through matchmakers. And then we see the obviously none on the very last week. And then I'm not recording how many trades there are, which I guess I could record how many trades there are. But the amount of trades for acorns has dramatically increased from, what was it, half a page to 3 pages? Yeah, from literally half a page to 3 pages, which is a huge recovery right there in the amount of trades available. So you can definitely, that event itself was having a huge impact on the acorn market, and it was definitely a good time to sell if you had a lot of acorns to sell. I know I personally like to hoard my acorns because they're good for crafting, but let's get back to the lineages. So Poseidon. This is who we're going to be doing lineages for. Now, for probably one of my favorite things to do on Wolvden, and that is mapping out lineages. So like I said, we're going to be doing Poseidon as well as one other, which I'll wait to tell you which that wolf is going to be once we finish with him, but he is a Gen 11. And it was quite a journey getting him to this point. And I was actually really surprised that he wasn't inbred, because some of my higher leopard shark marked wolves unintentionally came out inbred because they were related to a stud that I didn't even know existed until I accidentally bred them together and the puppies came out inbred. Because when you pair bond wolves together, it doesn't tell you whether or not they're going to be inbreeding. It only tells you if a wolf is inbreeding if you breed it to your active stud, which is kind of frustrating because then it's like it further lends itself to not prioritizing higher generations, because if you have a higher generation wolf, you have got to stay on top of it, otherwise you run the risk of inbreeding. And that's not something a lot of people enjoy. But he is not. I thought, so here's kind of like a brief snapshot of what his thing Let me move this over the top so we can get kind of a better. Move it over here. There we go. We can see there he is 11, and it is just completely full of wolves. And we can see that a lot of them, especially on my side of things, delete, 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 delete. Right? We just have a lot of wolves that start getting deleted and disappearing. And up here, the paternal side is the father is already gone, but you can see he's related to some of Smoking's wolves. But then we have ones that are like labeled Chase, so they're gone. Chase, so they're gone. A bunch of wolves that I've never seen before, but we're going to get this mapped out. We're going to get it put into his bio. And I think it's going to look gorgeous. I do have a couple examples of ones that I've already made. There we go. So if we look at this wolf's bio, Ashen Snowfall, here's kind of a little example of one that I've already made. Kind of cut off there, but that's what it looks like. So we're going to start with mapping out Poseidon's paternal family line, and we'll go from there because I don't know which side is the longer side. I know they're not identical. Yeah, this one ends with Douglas, but Douglas actually goes up to a little bit higher. So this is going to be a bit of a mess. I'm actually already looking at my thing and I'm wondering if I should do wider instead of taller. You know what? We're going to make a new background and we're going to make it wider and not as tall. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to do it that way. Now, first things first, I like to use the little headshots here. As it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. It took me at least 3 to 4 hours to finish this, but I did finally get his lineage mapped out. He's Gen 11, so I had to work things just a little bit different to get everybody to fit on the page. But I did learn some cool things about my pretty boy Poseidon here. He is actually inbred. He is inbred quite a few times. But despite being inbred, he's actually related to 5 different raffle studs, which I mean makes sense, right? Because every single leopard shark mark had to at some point originate from a raffle stud, except for the T6s. So leopard shark markings are either a T6 or a T2. So all of the T2s have to originate from a raffle stud. And even the T6s involve, like, say, a black leopard shark marking then mixed with a different color to get the T6. So at some point the raffle stud is supposed to be in there. But yeah, he's actually related to 5 different raffle studs. I'm not sure how well this will show on OBS there, but up here in the middle of the screen, he is related to Vale, Draven 5, Romeo the 2nd, Wiglaf the 3rd, and Oberon the 2nd. So there's 5 different studs there. But as for the inbreeding here, if we look to the middle right of the screen, he is related to Coda the 1st, Arwa Hart, Wiglaf the 2nd, Dropkick Murphy, Event Horizon, and After the Burial. Which... Wiglaf the 2nd... Oh, I have raffle studs Wiglaf the 3rd and Wiglaf the... Hold on, is Wiglaf the 2nd... Hold on. Is it actually 6 raffle studs and 2 of them are Wiglaf? Alright, where was Wiglaf the 2nd? Where can I find him? Okay, there's Wiglaf the 3rd. Did I just get them confused? He's pretty high on the list, which means he's up here somewhere. So there's Coda. There's Romeo. Wiglaf the 3rd. Okay, I think I just spelled it wrong, and it's just Wiglaf the 3rd, not Wiglaf the 2nd. Unless one of you sees it through in here somewhere, but I think I just spelled it wrong. That's something I do. We'll just add another I in here because I do not see a 2. Although how cool would that have been to have 2 and 3 in my lineage, but... Okay, yeah, so... Yeah, Wiglaf the 3rd, it pops up twice. There's that. But yeah, Dropkick Murphy, Event Horizon, and After the Burial, which I thought was really interesting because those are player-owned wolves. All of them except Wiglaf. They're all player-owned wolves. And I think actually in here somewhere, yeah, it was Event Horizon and After the Burial. So let me zoom a little bit. Yeah, I'm like having to flip through OBS here and, because I've only got one screen. Yeah, if we look here, we have Event Horizon and After the Burial here, and then up in the same one we have, or in the other one. So, gosh. So the great grandparents. No, it would be the grandparents of Poseidon. Both share relation with Event Horizon and After the Burial. So basically it looks like, yeah, because they gave birth to Dropkick Murphy. Because Dropkick Murphy is part of the inbreeding. So they both gave birth to Dropkick Murphy. And then he at some point bred with Lady, who was one of my wolves, and Morticia, who was one of my wolves. So I think yeah, Amandy, yeah, so I must have bought or was given Morticia. And then Lady was one of mine, which means I initiated the breeding at least once to Dropkick Murphy, which is probably why I didn't realize I was inbreeding or going to inbreed in the future, because I didn't realize Morticia was a child of Dropkick. Because down here at the bottom we see She-Ra. She is one of mine because she came from Lady of the Glaciers. Lady of the Glaciers was a gift from somebody who was trying to do a 10 Merle marking project. I had found one of their wolves in the wild and returned it to them, and they gave me Lady of the Glaciers. And I won a raffle stud breeding, which is Oberon the second. So I bred her with him, got She-Ra. She-Ra bred with Dropkick Murphy, which gave me Lady, which then gave me this, the 00150 keep was a code that I used when I hired some people to help me organize my wolves. So that's all that means. It doesn't mean, and it literally means nothing. And then when I first started my project, Morticia and Gomez with the unicorn pictures, those were actually two of my originals that started the initial project. So yeah, I purchased Morticia, which is how I ended up not realizing Dropkick was getting used twice. But I do remember in a previous video seeing Advent Horizon's name and being all like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had this one in there twice. So that's where that came from. It actually came from that huge mess, which I thought was really interesting and really cool, as well as taking the opportunity to look at a bunch of these wolves and seeing their pictures and how they've been decorated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are so many beautiful wolves. But the other cool thing I thought about doing this is I could actually map out where individual markings came from. So here we have Vale, who is a raffle stud with Pumice Leopard Shark in slot 7. That got brought down to Wild Breeze Gabrielle, who's owned by another 10 Leopard Shark breeder, Misty. So Wild Breeze had Pumice LS7, which then got brought down to this wolf, which wolves written in this coding are typically owned by Smoking Kills. So if I remember correctly, that is Smoking's Wolves, which I should probably note that. I will when I'm done with all of this. Which then brought it down to, because we still have that slot 7, which then brought it down to a wolf who's now deleted, unfortunately. But we were able to see like where that came from and how it came down the family line. Even if some of the wolves were deleted, I could still make the leap that, okay, even though this one is deleted, it's like, where's an example here? Okay, here's an example. So we have Violet, G1, and BW. They have BLS in slot 8. Well, I know for a fact that this wolf with the coded name, slot 6, Dark Brown LS, slot 8, BLS, Gen 8. I know that the slot 8 BLS had to come from somewhere. So it most likely came from Violet, brought over to this wolf that was chased, and then bred into Smoking Kills wolf, who then brought it down to this one. Although I can see here that the only thing they carried over... Alright, yeah, I'm gonna have to check what is in here, what the 2, 10, and 6 is, because those aren't labeled properly, but... Wiglaff the third gave me Dark Brown in slot 6, which then brought it to Honey Leopard, which then brought it to Faith, which then brought it to this coded one. I thought that was pretty cool to see. I thought that was pretty neat to be able to track where these came from. Especially since one of these... Oh, actually it was the example that I gave, came from somebody else's NBW and was brought through. So it wasn't a raffle stud, it was the one that had been chased, found, and then bred. Piranha here with slot 2 BLS, sort of in the middle screen there. Put Poseidon back up so we can stare at the pretty boy. So Piranha then carried on their BLS slot 2 to Leopard, and Arwa, who has BLS in slot 10, carried it on through to Leopard. And we could see that's where the slot 10 BLS up here came from, as well as the slot 2. Oh, I think I understand now. Okay, slot 2 and 10 are both black. Slot 6 is most likely the dark brown. And then here below we can follow the red LS coming from Smashing Pumpkins, which is another user's wolf, and Rose, Gomez, Delete, and B-Male are all gone. Every single one of them, all gone. However, that is the only instance of red LS in this particular family line. So it's like, I could easily assume that 0013M has that's where the red LS came from, because they have it. Same with the Shadua LS in slot 5 coming from Dropkick Murphy. Now, the reason in this particular line Dropkick Murphy is highlighted in the progenitor side, or not the progenitor, but in the patriarchal line, but it's not highlighted in the matriarchal line, that is because 00150 is still alive. So I can look at them and I can see 00150 does not have Shadua LS. But 0013 does have Shadua LS, which means it came from the patriarchal side from Dropkick Murphy, who then passed it on to Morticia, who passed it on to Delete, then B-Male, then came to 0013M. So I thought that was really cool to see, being able to map that out. And so for now, it is kind of a lot. I'm going to shrink the background a little bit, kind of make things a little bit more pretty. But for now, I have everything on the page. A lot of my notes are there. I did note wolves that had piebald and patches. I did note wolves that were carriers. And unfortunately, there's really not a whole lot of carriers in this lineage, but there is actually quite a few piebald and patches, although a lot of Zerdava, surprisingly enough. There was a lot of Zerdava in the line, but I didn't make note of which exactly that was that they had, because that just adds a lot of wordage. If anyone has any ideas on how to add that without taking up too much space and making it too cluttered, I'm all ears to hear it, but for now they just get the little mutation symbol. So eventually this will get posted on his breeding page, but for now we're done. We did it. He's my Gen 11 highly inbred 6 leopard shark marking stud. So thank you everybody for watching this video and hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, have a positive day everyone. Bye bye.